For this class, the first thing that you'll need is paper, and I'm using watercolor paper. This is in the form of a sketchbook. This is the Etcher sketchbook, which has Fabriano Artistico 100% cotton 300 GSM paper, and it's nice and thick and it absorbs water pretty well. So I really like this paper, and it's also cold pressed, which means it has this light grainy texture on it, which works really well for floral paintings. And then since I'm traveling, I have my travel palette here, and these are the colors that we'll be using. We'll be using lemon yellow, new gamboge, and sap green, and a little bit of quinacridone gold. So these are the colors that we'll be using for this class. Not too many colors. We want to keep it simple, and we want to focus on the techniques and ways to keep our painting loose and spontaneous. So that's the only 4 colors that we'll be using in this class. And then we're using 3 brushes here. One is a round brush. This is a size 8 Escoda brush, but you can use any round brush which has a nice fine tip. And another brush is a size 4, a thin brush, and that we'll be using to add all the stems, the little ones. And then for the leaf, to get these round ends, we're using a filbert brush. This is called Silver Silk 88 oval crescent brush, and it's 1/2 inch. And this gives you nice rounded ends for your leaves and flowers. And you can also use a round brush for this, but just make sure you have these rounded ends for the leaves, similar to what these leaves look like. So that's it. And oh yeah, you also need a clean jar of water and some tissues, or you can use a cloth. When I'm painting at home, I just use a cotton rag for wiping away my brushes, but if you have tissues or kitchen towel, whatever is near you, use that. And that's it. So let's get started. Okay, let's start by first talking about these flowers. You can see that they are these fluffy little balls, and they are clustered on top and a few scattered around here at the bottom. And you can see that the leaves are long and thin, and most of the leaves are on this side, and there are a few that fall on this side as well, but it depends the way you hold the whole stem. So if you hold it like this, there are more here, and for example this one has leaves on both sides, so that doesn't matter so much, but we just see the movement of the leaves and also the shapes in general. So okay, let's get started. I'll start by mixing my colors first. So I start with the flowers, so I need a very nice bright yellow for this. I'm going to take my round brush and I'll dip it in water, clean the brush first, take a good amount of lemon yellow and a little bit of the new gamboge, actually a little bit more of the new gamboge actually, and a little more of the lemon yellow. So you have a nice bright orangish yellow here, and I'm going to load my entire brush and start painting from the top. I want to paint this big cluster here, so I'll just add these dots. You can see that I'm not making these perfect round shapes like these because they are in a cluster and you don't want to paint each one individually. You want to keep it loose. So I'm just going to add these uneven shapes here, just quickly like that. And I'm going to wash my brush using just the little touch of the yellow, not too much, just at the end of the brush. I'll just spread this so that I get slightly different tone of yellow here. We're not trying to get an exact shape here, so just the overall shape of this one. So as I go down, I'll add fewer of these, just these blobs like that. I'll add a few more here, one big one here, tiny ones like that. I'm not copying it exactly, but just adding a few here and there. I'll wash away my brush and using just these paints, I'll just push this around here and take a little bit and move it around. I'll spread this a bit here. Okay. Now I'm going to take a little bit of the Quin Gold and just mix it with the yellow that we already have. So it's a slightly brownish yellow, and I'll just take little bits of it. I'll make it a little bright. Yeah, and it's a little thicker than what we mixed earlier. And I'm going to touch here and there with this. And at this stage, it's important to make sure the previous layer is still wet so that the color mixes with this. And I just touch it here and there, not the entire region. So it gently mixes. Yeah, that's enough. And I can also add a few green circular flowers or buds here, because you can see in some regions it's still green. So we'll just add that. It's a very light green mixed with a little bit of the yellow. So I'll just add that here and there. That. Okay, let's wait for this to completely dry and come back to add the stem and then the leaves. I'm taking my same size 8 round brush here, but you can also switch to a thinner brush, and that'll give you thinner strokes for the stems here. Since I have practiced a lot with this brush, it's a lot easier for me to use this. But if you're very new to painting, then I would suggest you to start with a thinner brush for the stems. So I'm taking a nice juicy mix of green. So I've added sap green and a little bit of the Quin Gold. And I get a nice earthy green here. So I'll start from the top and I'll add these lines here, just the central line. You can see that the line has little dashes in between, and that's to show that there are flowers there, so it's not one continuous line. And I'll just bend it a little. You can see that I'm holding the brush like I'm holding a pencil here, very close to the tip. This helps me get a nice thin line. I'll just bend it a little, go down, add these little marks like this to show the different texture here. Okay, let's add the leaves and then add the tiny connections to the flowers. So for this I'm switching to my round brush. So So far I used my round brush. I'm going to switch to my filbert brush, and this is my 1/2 inch silver silk oval crescent brush. So I'm going to take the same green, just mixing more of that. So sap green and a little bit of the quin gold. I'll just water it down so that it's nice and juicy. And I'm loading my complete brush, both sides. And I'll start from the top. I want these thin leaves here. And you can see that as it goes down, the leaves also become bigger. So let's add the thin ones first. So I'm going to take the side of the brush, not this complete part, but just the side. And I'll start from here. Just a swift line like that. Another one. Maybe add a little bit of water and make it thinner so you get a lighter color. And another one like this. Bend it a little. Maybe one going like this. This one. So it goes like that and goes down. So it shows that it's bending. And we can add one more, the big one like this, going over the flowers. And I'll add a few on this side as well, maybe just one actually. So I'll just add this. And this kind of looks weird now, so I want to fill this space with more flowers so that this is not very dominant. So I'll add one here. Taking a little more of the green. I'm going to add a little bit more of the sap green as I go down. I want to make it slightly darker. So pull it down, and you can add one with the bigger side of the brush. So like that, press and go down. So this helps you get nice loose strokes instead of, I've seen some people do this where they draw a leaf first and then fill it in. Instead, just go like that. It gives you nice looser strokes like that. Okay. Add a few strokes here like that, just to cover this shape up. Washing my brush and using only what is remaining in the brush, so it will be a very thin light green. And a bit here so it just blends in. And you can add one here and another one like that. I'll add a little bit of the quin gold over it so that it's a slightly different shade of green compared to the rest. Go over that. Okay, so the major part is done. Now we just need to connect the flowers to the main stem. So I'll put this brush away, clean it and put it away. And I'll take my thinner brush. For this I take a size 4 brush and it has a nice sharp tip. So I'll just take the same green mix that we have. It's become lighter now because I've added lots of water here. So I want it that way because you can see that these are much lighter than the main stem here. So using this green, I'll just draw swift lines to connect these. I'm not connecting each and every one. As you can see, I'm just adding these lines quickly like that, and some in between the yellow as well. I'll add more here. I just messed this up. While it was still wet, I touched it, so let's just clean that. It definitely happens to a lot of us. So I'm taking a clean brush and making sure it's a little wet. I'll just go over this and pull it out. I'm taking a little bit of my tissue. Okay, wow, it's spread a lot now. So I make my tissue wet and I pull it out like that. Taking the dry side of the tissue, wipe it, and that's it. Don't rub too much when this happens, just press and lift it like that. Okay, once it dries, it becomes much lighter. Even if it doesn't, this is totally okay because it goes with the colors here. And if it's really bad, you can just add another leaf there to cover it up. I sometimes do that, but right now I think this is okay. Let's just be careful that we don't touch this again. It's best to come back when each part is fully dry so that we don't do this, but sometimes you're just eager to paint and finish it, so this totally happens to me. And now, wow, it's a messy day today. Okay. So I've connected all the flowers, at least make it look like that, and that's it. So now it's complete, but we could also go back and using my bigger round brush, the size 8 brush, I'm going to take the new gamboge and add lots of water to it, make it really thin, and take it in my brush. It's a really watery mixture right now. Take it in my brush like that, and you can just splatter. So you can hold the brush this way and just tap. So you get these splatters. If that is hard for you, take another brush and just tap it all over it. So you get these splatters, and just a few to control those splatters, and maybe a few here. Take a little bit more to get bigger splatters. That. And that's it. So we are done with this one, and I like how loose and colorful and bright it is. And one more thing that you need to remember is while you're mixing colors, don't mix too many colors together. That will give you a muddy mix. So generally I mix 2 colors or at max 3 colors at a time, and not more than that. So you can also create your greens from the yellow and the blue, but then I wouldn't add too many other colors to it. Maybe a little bit of the brown to make it more natural looking, but I wouldn't add too many colors. So that was just an example, but just make sure that you don't mix too many colors, and that way you'll have nice bright colors even after the painting is dry. So I hope you enjoyed this class, and I hope you painted with me, and if you've painted along, I would love to see what you create. And so Happy painting!